All right, welcome to episode 4 of Shed Life today. It's awesome. We've got one of my oldest mates, Ben Presling, the mighty Pres. He's come down. We've known each other since third form.
Yep.
Mid-90s, Jesus.
Wow.
We've seen it. It's been awesome. If you had a mate since third form, we've seen each other drunk, dumb. We've had heaps of adventures, heaps of laughs, seen the good times, seen the bad times, and seen each other grow. Now you're a successful financial advisor. You're on the North Shore Advice HQ. We've helped out. We've done businesses and that together. So welcome aboard, Ben.
Thanks, mate. Thanks for having me.
But just off here, we were just chatting with the boys and that, and we were talking about your stint. Was it chop shops over in Japan?
Yeah, man. Yeah, that was cool. So back in, must be like 2002, had my 21st, and then one of my good mates at the time, Tim the Mormon, he goes, "Oh, Ben, do you want a job?" I'm like, "Oh, I've already got a job, but okay."
Yeah.
He goes, "Oh yeah, well, my dad's bought part of a parts company. Do you want to move to Japan?" And so I'd had a few at that point, and I thought, "Oh, okay, yeah, all right, I'll look into it."
What were you doing at that point?
So I was working for Honda Cars North Shore.
Yeah,
I was in parts and like service reception and pretty much just being a 20-year-old,
Yeah.
Really
Did you still have the GTR at that point?
No, that was a few years earlier. So I think at the time I had my RX2 four-door,
yes,
which I was working on, and I was driving the van actually, driving my bongo van, the mighty bongo, and so I ended up.
So they bought a parts company.
Yeah, there were 3 business partners, and Tim's dad was one of them. There was a childhood friend of his, and then this other guy, Dave, who I don't know how they met Dave, but Dave was a parts man. There was Mike lived in Japan. He was an agent, so he would go to the car auctions. And over in Japan, you have to have an agency, so not anyone can just go bid. Like at your local Turners. Yeah. So he would go along and he would buy cars, and then they'd send them back to New Zealand. And so my job was to go up, and there was this random yard, and like Osh wasn't even a thing, and basically it was Matsuyama-san, and he was this old man. If you think of like Mr. Miyagi, he was just like that, and he was a typical Japanese boss who was like, yes, oh yes, like real stern sort of dude. Anyway, he had this yard, and he had it full with people from all over the world. Like we've got Nigerians, we've got Russians, we've got like everyone. And he would go to the auctions and buy cars and then bring them in. And we had a list of all the parts that our customers wanted. And so I knew that particular car, I had to take the front card and a couple of doors or whatever. So he'd come in and he'd go, "Do you want this car?" And you go, "Yeah, cool, I'll take it." And then I had this shoddy as forklift. That was my hoist, right? And I had a railway sleeper. Because the hydraulics leaked, it would come down. So I'd have to put it all the way up, and then put the railway sleeper, wedge it under the forks, and just hope like hell that nothing fell apart. So I was doing that for...
so you're 20, so let's just say 21, so where about Tokyo? Whereabouts in Japan?
It's just out of Nagoya, so I was in Nishin. And so it was basically like the middle of nowhere, It may as well have been, I don't know, man, like rural, it was, except it was... How do you describe it? Japan's a weird place. So you don't have, it's almost like they've never heard of a town planner. Yeah. We went into Nagoya, and think of driving up Queen Street and there's skyscrapers everywhere. Then there's a rice paddy, right there, the size of the footprint of the skyscraper. Like it just makes no sense. So I was in the middle of what they'd call the country, but it was pretty much like suburbia in New Zealand. And everything was paid for, and it was awesome at the time. I was getting like $1,000 a month in the hand, a week, in the hand. They gave me this little K truck, the little tiny, so Daihatsu Hijet 660, and I had they gave me an apartment which was 2 meters by 8 meters, and that included the bathroom. So just tiny little place, but so I'd go along, work on all these, these random cars, cut them up and send them back. But I was there for 90 days. I was on a 90-day work visa, and after the 90 days, I came back for Christmas. I came back on like the 21st of December or something, and it was like I came back flush with cash, and just partied it up for 3 weeks. And unfortunately, one of the business partners took a bit of money off one of the other business partners, and everything kind of wound up, and So it's just my brief stint in Japan.
You're a brief stint to Japan.
Yeah, man. But it was it was a pretty cool place. Japan's, if you ever get the opportunity, man, Japan is just a wild, wild place to go to. And so I saw really cool stuff, like the usual, go check out some old temples and that sort of stuff. But the illegal street drags around the ports was where it was at.
Really?
Yeah. And so we ended up, like, we'd go there on Friday nights, and there were dudes drifting K trucks, these little 660cc mini utes. They were drifting those. You had like brand new GTRs and just so much money. And the cops would come and they just put their lights on everyone, much like New Zealand, just move to the next spot. But over there, if you get a criminal conviction, even if it's a driving conviction, I don't know if it's still the same, we're going back like 20 odd years, but you couldn't get a job. Like, no one would hire you.
Yeah.
So you end up with all these dudes that live with their parents, can't get a job, and so they're not hard enough to join the Yakuza.
Yeah.
So they start these little gangs, and they go around on their like nifty 50, scooters, and they'll take over an intersection and they'll just ride in circles so no one can go through. And they think they're real hardcore dudes, like these hardcore bikies, and they're just like, crazy place. Anyway, so Japan was nuts, but foreigners over there, like they caused all the crime.
Yeah.
So I had nothing to do because I was really like in the middle of nowhere, and I'd just go for a run. I'd just run every day because I had nothing else to do, after work. And old ladies would grab their handbags and just cross the street. Like, never felt like such a criminal. But yeah, Japan was awesome, man. I'll have to go back at some point. Really, really cool.
It's a pretty cool opportunity. What did your parents and what did people think when you were, so 21, and then I was saying to a few people, and it is often saying yes to strange opportunities, open different doors. What made you know, okay, instead of just continuing on with the world of parts, like that you're just going to give it a crack and go there?
Yeah, you know me, man. I'm a bit impulsive. So this opportunity came up and I was like, okay, cool. I'll go do it.
And did they take you over or did they just, here's a plane ticket?
No, so Dave...
Here's a key to an apartment.
Yeah, so Dave was a really good dude. He took me over and he stayed the first month with me. Okay. And he just showed me where everything was and set me up. And about half an hour drive away in Tsushima, which is like their port, was the other business partner, Mike. He lived there with his Japanese wife. And he was the guy that was going buying the cars. So on the weekends, we'd hang out there. Cool. And Tim's brother, Jeremy, he actually moved over with his young family. And he took over from Mike going to the auction. So then there was, I had people to hang out with. And but yeah, it was.
Were there any other Kiwis on this sort of in the wrecking yard? Was there much competition? There a standoff with any Russian over who's getting the front bumper?
Nah, nothing like that. But the Russian dudes, like they weren't there long, eh? I don't think they could handle it. And I got the impression that maybe there was some sort of slavery going on. Yeah. Like, I got told by one of them, because I think in the 3 months I was there, it was 3 different ones.
No.
And one of them told me that I was like, "Oh, you excited to be here?" And his English was actually okay. And he goes, "No." He goes, "I don't want to be here." He goes, "My boss told me I had to come work here." And so, yeah, sent him over. But yeah, Dave set me up. They covered all my, so it's $1,000 a week in the hand. They gave me, the K truck, paid for my accommodation, covered my flight. So the deal was I was on a 90-day work visa. Yeah. So every 90 days I had to leave the country. So every 90 days they got to fly me back for a couple of weeks and then fly me back up. So it was fantastic. Didn't quite work out that way. But yeah, it was they were really cool. It was good experience, But yeah, it was merely just I wasn't planning to go anywhere. I'd kind of got a little bit sick of Honda. Yeah. Just repetitive stuff, and it wasn't really fulfilling, and just wanted to change. And yeah, popped up, thought, hey, give it a go. My girlfriend at the time wasn't too happy about it.
Yeah.
But yeah. What do you do?
Yeah, such a slap.
Yeah.
Also, it's a pretty cool story. The way it's like especially at that point, 21, you've got obviously the girlfriend, but there's no real tiebacks. It's such a good time to go overseas, do Absolutely. The OE,
Yep.
Would you consider that was just sort of a little early OE?
Yeah, it was, because I we'll probably get into it in a minute, but I ended up, so a lot of our mates, as you know, they all went off and, did like London and Australia and that sort of thing. And I didn't really have much of a desire to do that at that point. And so, yeah, that was my OE. I didn't end up traveling beyond that really, which I'd started the business and then just couldn't go anywhere, and priorities changed a little bit, but yeah, so that was pretty much the OE.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
Let's wind it back even further than we'd know. Where'd you grow up? How was home life? How was the school?
Yeah. So grew up in Takapuna. Actually, I'm such a sure cliche. I live like one street over from where I grew up now.
Nice.
But yeah, Takapuna, went to Hauraki Primary, Bellman Intermediate, which is where we met.
Yeah.
And then
so even before the third form. So where it must have been.
Yeah, I don't think we were mates in intermediate. Maybe we were. But then it was more.
Did we meet in Form 2? Were we in the same class in Form 2 or was it Form 3? I can't.
I had Sangster, and I can't remember the other one.
Yeah, I can't remember.
I don't know.
That's up.
I think we sort of ran the same sort of circle.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it was, then Takapuna Grammar, and it's where I met you, and obviously a few other mates, and yeah, it's cool. Good family. Like my parents, both worked quite a bit. My old man is in IT. He worked crazy hours.
Yeah.
Mum was a nurse, neonatal intensive care nurse, and then she got into the exciting world of insurance.
Yep.
So she was an underwriter for a while, and then she joined up with Sovereign, going around as like house screen nurse, so taking people, you apply for insurance, doing their medicals at your house.
Oh, cool.
And then she ended up running it. So, but yeah, home life, look, no complaints. I was pretty fortunate.
Yep.
Had a really good upbringing and pretty liberal parents by and large. So
yeah,
it's cool.
No, it's awesome. When you're going through it, I think we were pretty lucky growing up.
Yeah, we were.
And I look back on it and sometimes, I'm just lucky. And I think it's nice to recognize a bit of privilege or a bit of luck, like at a slightly different home, but just the sheer luck of, for me, growing up and just being, at the time, it's sort of in between single mum and with different, stepfather, but still in Devonport. And then the benefit of going to Devo Primary, Belmont Intermediate, and Taka Grammar had this interesting melting pot, of people, which was very cool. As we had some friends that were, like the children of like elite business people, through to just middle class, probably where you were at, working class, sort of where I was coming from, and then you also just had like the Navy kids, and then also like a lot of the state housing kids. So you had this really interesting mixture of people that did. But what are any of the highlights that come back? Some of the good times.
Oh man, I don't know what I can say.
It's a statute, just a statute of limitations.
Look, we used to do a bit of underage drinking,
absolutely.
Have a good time, and then later on got into cars, and then
it was before cars though. I remember I just have a highlight, and tell me about it, is that you turned it up. I remember I used to ride my old bike to school. It was, I can't remember what it was. I had one of those horrendous mountain bikes that were like $100 or $200. It was like the worst bike at the school. It wouldn't steer properly. It was just terrible. And so I wouldn't bother locking my bike up because like, why would you steal this thing? And then someone stole that bike, and bless my mother, she went and then claimed it on insurance. She put it down as a nice bike, and then I had a very nice bike, which was wonderful. But you turned up on like stretched out.
That's right, the cruiser,
stretched out cruiser or something. So
So we, so my mate Ben and myself, we used to love the inorganics. So we'd go out, and we were always tinkering with stuff, and we'd go out and we'd get old bikes and we'd Frankenstein them together, and like Ben make one with a massive front wheel and a tiny back wheel so you could just wheelie everywhere. But I got this this Healing cruiser from, I think it was like the 70s, Pooh Brown, metallic Pooh Brown. And we had it's just a normal bike, I think it was even a lady's bike. It had like the lower, the never top tube, and it had this camping tent, like toilet long drop tent thing, and I took the poles off it and I stretched out the back wheel and I joined like 3 chains together. And I had this normal bike at the front, but then I think it was like 2 meters out the back was the back wheel. And then I think I swapped like a bag of chips or something for some Renthal motocross handlebars. So I had like these big handlebars on this bike, massive stretched back. But yeah, we used to love going around the organics.
Yeah.
Kids these days, they just don't get that.
Yeah, the inorganic. The North Shore inorganic was such a treasure trove.
Oh, yeah.
It was like, it was a highlight of the year.
It
It's
was,
going around
yeah.
there. But a Halloween, but inorganic time was just wandering around and seeing the crazy stuff that would get thrown out. But how were you where'd you get the skills? Were you guys welding? Because I remember looking, I've never been mechanically minded, as you know it. Like, I've always been hanging out with you guys and the car guys.
Yeah.
It's always just been one of those things where it just looks like another language to me every time I try to understand how pistons and engines and that. I can appreciate the coolness of them, but where'd that come from? Like, were you guys welding them together? How were you splicing it all together and making it work?
Just bolts, bolting everything together. No, I didn't know.
It was like, did you have with the old man showing you guys how to do? Like, where did you guys pick up this sort of skill set?
We kind of just taught ourselves. Like my old man's pretty handy. So he was always doing projects around the house, like cobbling a path or whatever, stuff like that. But I just, from a young age, I just like tinkering in the garage and making things. And so it started with bikes and got into my BMXs and like then organics. And then eventually, I think I was about 13 and I bought a Mini off my brother's mate. And it was the biggest piece of crap. Like, it was bright yellow. It looked like pork pie. Yeah. It was so bad. It had this 998cc engine, wasn't even the big block, and I bought it for $50, and I probably overspent. And no warrant, no reg. I can't even remember if it was D. I think it might even be.
Well, you didn't have a license anyway.
Didn't have a license. I was 13. So you had that, and then my dad. I always got it really well with my dad, you know, and so I was kind of like his shadow growing up, and Dad was handy enough. He knew how to change his oil and he knew about engines, but he wasn't, like a mechanic or anything like that. But he had we had a family friend, Graham, who had an import business, and Graham was an ex-mechanic. And so Dad was doing a lot of IT work for him, just helping out his mate. Yeah. And so Graham's like, oh, look, I'll help you. And the engine came in pieces. Right. So he's like, I'll help you put together the engine. And the whole point was that, do it with Dad and we'd learn and whatever. And so ended up getting this engine couple of Saturdays with Graham, and he's like, okay, well, that's what you need to do. So we got it reconditioned and then put it back together, and then realized pretty quickly that the car was buggered. So I was just like, no chance. So I randomly bought another one, this Primer Black Mini. It came with a running engine though. Bought it off, I think my uncle was like a milkman out in Manurewa or something, and a guy he worked with on the milk truck had one or something, I can't remember. And so I ended up buying another one for like $50 again. And it got this engine and went to put the engine in it. And me being an absolute idiot, I thought, I had this book and it was like how to modify your Mini. Couldn't weld, right? And Minis have got a seam, basically it runs down the panels, it joins them together. And I'd seen this D-seamed Mini and it looked really cool. And so I got out the grinder and I cut it. And I destroyed the car. I thought it was really cool. And I thought I'd put some bog in there, she'll be right. That one was ruined. But in the meantime, we would come home, and my gran lived, she lived in this like 30-foot caravan on the end of the house. It was like a granny flat pretty much. But Ben and me would come home, like we'd sneak out of school, this is fourth form. And end up, we'd just go joyriding in this Mini, around the block and doing skids and all sorts of stuff. And we taught ourselves to drive pretty much doing that. And then, so that Mini was a wreck, and then ended up buying my third Mini. So I had 3 cars by the time I even had a license, which is kind of cool.
Learners, I suppose, because you can get learners at 15, wasn't it? 15, you can get your learners.
Unless you're my mum.
So
mum worked in Middlemore, in the ED. I don't know when, it must have been before I came along. And so she was always adamant, no motorbikes, and you're not getting your license till you're 18. So my brother, he's older than me by a couple of years, and he was a good boy and he did what he was told. I went and booked my license when I was 15 and just went and got it because I didn't need my parents' permission. So I ended up I didn't get it I think you guys got yours pretty much the day you were 15. Mine was I was kind of like halfway into it. But and then restricted learners, that sort of thing. So I had my full by the time I think I was about 17-ish. But Good times.
Yeah, it was good times.
Yeah.
You used to be able to get, I remember I did some of the course, 15 got learners, had restricted, like
Yeah.
15 and a half, maybe younger. And it's, yeah, I can certainly see why they put the age up in
Absolutely.
the city. It's a bit harder, and I actually can see it rurally, like living rurally, it's, cuts it into the freedom, but then, how do you have, rurals, rurals can get it at 14, but if you're in the city, it should be 18, I'm not sure, but, and so then there must have been another, because there was actually a Mini that you were cruising around.
Yeah, so that was the third one. That was the red Mini.
Yeah,
and
that
the
was
red
the red
Mini
Mini.
was so cool. It had a fiberglass front.
Yeah.
So you could take the front off it and drive it around like a tea bucket. And it had a half roll cage in it. Like it was just cool.
Yeah.
The red Mini. That was great. And I got it from, that one was bought from like Howick. But when I got my license, I don't know if did you come out to Papakura when we went and saw Jason in my dad's car?
I mean, at some points.
So yeah, I had my restricted license.
Yeah.
And I'd only had it, I think, like a week.
Yeah.
And so I took Ben, and I can't remember if you were there or not, but we went out and saw our friend Jason out in South Auckland, Manukau or whatever. And we decided to go do some handbrake skids up in Papakura, up in Red Hill. And so I was doing handbrake skids in my dad's car. And then I get this phone call probably like 20 minutes later, half an hour later. It's my dad, and he's absolutely furious. He said, "Bring the car back right now." I was 15 time, 16. And so I was like, what? I'm not doing anything, right? What actually happened, it was like this weird little driveway. It was supposed it was going to be a subdivision, but like a real small one. And we were doing skids at the bottom of it. But there were these houses on the main road, and it was sort of off in this gully. And they could see us.
Yeah.
And so they called the cops
Yeah.
and said, "We think there's a stolen car up here." 'Cause there's young guys in it doing skids.
Yeah.
And the police called my dad to see if the car was stolen. So, I got found out about that. So I got basically my parents said, it was, I think, like September.
Yeah.
And they said, "Right, you're not going to pass school cert.
Yeah.
You need to knuckle down." So you're not, they basically, I just bought the Mini as well, but it was in pieces. So the Mini got shipped off to parents' friend's place. I wasn't allowed to work on it until after exams.
Oh, yeah.
So, so the red Mini kind of had its grand unveiling at the end of fifth form, and, got to cruise around that. But
Where were you working at this point?
Yeah, I was at Mobil.
Yeah, I
Mobil
remember you
Sunnybrook.
always, because you were able to sort of hustle these better jobs than the rest of us. Like I was just sweating balls as a kitchen hand. Type
Yeah,
thing,
yeah.
Like I was always just grinding kitchen hand. Yeah, and you had Mobil Sunnybrook, eh?
Yeah,
So-
Mobil Sunnybrook. Yeah. My brother worked there, and so I got a job on the back of his good name.
Yeah.
But and look, Mobil's cool because I had a $50 staff account. Back then, like $5 gas.
Yeah.
I think petrol's like 90 cents.
Yeah.
$5 gas was a night out.
Yeah.
So we would go up and put some gas in one of our cars and use the Mobil staff discount.
Yeah.
And it was, that was pretty cool. But I had a few jobs. I had, like, I volunteered at a vet clinic because I wanted to be a vet. Didn't quite pan out that way. And then there was New World.
Yeah.
New World Hauraki Corner.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool. And then, Mobil.
Mobil Sunnybrook.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember one of the things is me and you, we always loved the food. But was it Mobil? Because Mobil Sunnybrook must have got you down to Mobil Devonport on Lake Road.
Yeah.
And at one point they were giving away cheeseburgers.
Yeah, man.
And cheeseburger vouchers.
Yeah. I managed to secure 423 of them.
Yeah.
The cheeseburger vouchers. And I'd actually at that point, so I left school and started sixth form because it just wasn't really for me. And went and did my pre-trade.
So did you get school cert?
I did get school cert only because I did school cert science in fourth form and got 79%, 79 or 69, but it was enough to bring my grades up from all my shitty average 40%.
Yeah, because we met each other and like, I think we were at one below. They used to grade it. I don't know whether they still grade it because we were at the grammar school. So it was, whether it was A, B, C down to wherever it goes. And we were always like, at either than the top class or just
top
one
threes.
under.
Yeah, you got it.
Which is actually an interesting one because they talk about the grading and like how it can be harder on the kids that get graded at the very bottom. But it also had, I don't know if for you, but I look back on it, had this strange effect on me. It was like going and feeling quite stupid because we were surrounded by like genius kids, but
Yeah.
we were actually very, like
Yeah,
intelligent
we were
ourselves.
intelligent. Yeah.
But we were
But not
also
at that
pretty,
level.
we were more freedom loving and having a good
Yeah.
time. So we turned into the naughty kids in the geek class.
Pretty much.
And they'd like, oh, we're not that sharp.
Yeah.
Because we're comparing ourselves to all the kids that went and became doctors.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's so true. Like I remember, I think in third form they put me in like the second one down from the top class.
Yeah.
And for maths. And it very quickly became apparent that I should not have been in that class,
Yeah.
And after that, to be fair, I just switched off.
Yeah.
Because I felt like I didn't know where we were at in the curriculum, and I was the class clown.
Yeah.
And I started just being an idiot, and basically, that's when I sort of disassociated from school. But fourth form, I had a really good teacher who saw that I had potential,
Yeah.
put me forward for school cert, and I thought that was really quite cool.
Yeah.
And we'd had family friends that had done it, and it was sort of like, ooh,
Yeah.
And so, just by doing that fifth form subject in fourth form for science, it just
Got you the skills.
got me through to sixth form.
Yeah,
But then I
nice.
left shortly thereafter and went to Unitech. So I had the red mini at that point.
Yeah.
And Unitech I was doing my national certificate for entry to the automotive trades.
Nice.
And so I'd go out to Carrington, 5 times a week, and with other car guys.
Carrington was been the old asylum.
Yeah, you got it.
Carrington?
Yep. Unitech out there. And the cheeseburgers were so good because they were cash.
Yeah.
I'd trade them for parts. I'd trade them mini parts, like anything. It was just a stack of cheeseburgers. I think the statute of limitations passed now.
Yeah.
Good old Mobil. But everybody, so that was Mobil Devonport, and Mobil Devonport had some really interesting characters from our school,
Yeah.
And man, the amount of stock loss in that place was crazy. Because you had all these local shore guys coming in, and a lot of the time, most of them were stoned and
Yeah.
on the munchies, and it was sort of the thing to do to go to Mobil. And we'd get there was one guy who had a Rover V8, Neil. You remember that?
That's right. On Neil. He's
Neil.
from the States. Or
Yeah, you
something.
got it. Yeah, and he brought in his Rover V8 one night, and you could have back then any sale on the till. It's probably the same now, but if someone drove off, you just write off that to a particular account. You hit the button, the drive off button, and it gets charged, and it's off the screen, and away you go. And so we'd put on like 15 cents diesel on his back tires and just watch him skid up the road. Dumb shit like that.
Yeah.
It was pretty crazy, but
Yeah, it was a different era. It
was.
an era before statute of limitations, but it was an era before cell phones. It was an era before cameras. And it was like, even I think it's just like, it was just so socially different. It's all we would do is cruise around, because you might have landlines and be like, hey, I might be in Devonport. I heard there's a party there.
You got it.
That. And so everyone would just loop around and cruise, and you'd have all these hangout spots. It was, it was an epic time.
we were also, don't forget, these were the days of the shore parties.
Oh, yeah.
So like we would go to parties and riot police were there in full riot gear. You're talking like 200 teenagers, 300 teenagers throwing bottles at the cops.
Yeah.
Like it was crazy.
It was like Castle Street, but all over the shore.
You got it.
It was sort of like, I think we got brought up by the parents that had been brought up by like the post-war. Like,
Yeah, you got it.
Their parents went to war. They came back hard and probably like it.
Yep.
And then in the 90s, the amount of like, you all stayed together, but sort of divorcee parents that were off partying and just leaving their like darling teenagers, like to their mansion houses or non-mansion houses. And it just went full.
Oh, they'd throw a party.
Yeah. It was just a party. And then it would just get out of control
Yep.
all the time and
Very
immediately.
quickly.
Yeah. It was
But the cops didn't help themselves. Like I remember going to parties and they'd have their bands out and they were just clubbing people.
Yeah.
They just didn't care. My girlfriend at the time, Lisa, we must have been 16, and she I wasn't actually there that night with her, but she went to a party in Devonport and they cracked her in the head with a baton.
Yeah.
Just a 16-year-old girl, like just because she wasn't walking fast enough.
Yeah.
When they're trying to move them on, it's crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy.
But we did some crazy stuff, like the jump.
Yeah.
Do you remember the jump?
Yeah, I do remember the jump. I remember the jump in the Cordia.
Yeah.
Prescott engines.
Prescott engines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
New Zealand's premier V8 reconditioner.
You got it. Engine builder.
Yeah, he had some crazy cars.
Yeah. So this jump for everyone at home, I guess.
Yeah. Talk us through it.
Yeah, so there was this road. What was the road called? Because your house was next to it, eh?
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh.
It was
Basically, you could set up. So there was a road, and it came to a 4 intersection,
Yeah.
4 intersection. But
residential Devonport.
Residential
back
Devonport.
streets, residential
You got
Devonport,
it.
sort of, yeah.
yeah, and if you could, so you'd have someone, it's usually you actually,
Yeah.
standing on the corner,
Yeah.
giving you the all clear, and there are no cars coming across.
That's it. Health and safety. We were making
We
sure
were.
no prams, no bikes,
No,
nothing. You
no.
know, we only wanted to injure ourselves.
Yep. And Jason Prescott in his Cordia Turbo, he would just gun it, and it was digital dash, and you get up like 100 k's. But once you made it through the little chicane, you're on a downhill, and there was a road that cut across, and the road had was
they cut-
cambered.
Yeah.
So you hit that at speed, and you just get airborne.
Yeah.
And we're talking like a meter off the ground at least. And Jason would flick the wheel at the last minute and try and kick out the back. So quite often you're landing almost sideways a little bit. So dangerous. And then it was lock up the brakes to stop before you went through the traffic island at the end of the road. Great. Good old times.
Good old times.
I'm surprised we're still here.
So am I, honestly. I look back and you think how you survive it. I think that's just weird in general, is how many lucky misses the average person gets, and you get throughout it. That was crazy. And so that was also sort of the teenage years, all the 90s, 90s, early 2000s, but mainly in the 90s there in Devo, that it was going off for it. And so what happened after, so you got your certificate?
I actually. So I was the last year of the lump sum student loans.
Oh, yeah.
And my parents were paying my fees anyway, my course costs. And it was a 6-month course. But part of it, but one of the requirements is that you had to get 200 hours of experience working in a workshop. So I went door knocking, and I came across Access Auto Electrical on Barry's Point Road.
Yeah.
And this dude, Lindsay Pinker, absolute legend. And he was a superbike champ in the 80s, and just crazy.
He can send it, eh?
Yeah, definitely. And he was the guy that did all the Link computers back in the day. So he was the man that Link sent stuff to, and just a real talented dude. He was probably about 40 at the time, but he took me on. And so I got to the point, once I got my lump sum student loan, I decided to build a mini engine. It was a ridiculous mini engine. It only ran on avgas because the compression was so high. It was so dumb.
Avgas being aviation fuel.
You got it.
So you had to go up to Whenuapai to...
I had to go up to North Shore Aero Club and you'd have like the approved drum, a 20-litre container. And it wasn't to be used on the road because there was no road users in it. So it was for Presling karting, for my go-kart that I never owned. But yeah, it was really stupid. So I got to the point where I'd be sitting in traffic on my way to go out to Unitech, and then Barrows Point Road was right there.
Yeah.
I could either go to Unitech or I could go and work on my engine. So I started just working on my engine, and eventually I just stopped going. I just stopped going to uni. And then I got an apprenticeship, and then did that for a few months, and then went back to school in 7th form.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, which was exciting because, I was a little shit, eh? And I had a dean, Mr. Jenner.
Yeah.
And I'd pass him in the mornings on Bayswater Ave, doing like 100 Ks in my Mini, and he'd be running, and he'd come out and tell me to slow down. I'd pull the fingers at him, and because it's like, fuck you, I'm not at school anymore. And then I went back to school.
Yeah.
Back
into his world.
It was great. It was a great time. That was 7th form, but...
So what made you decide to go back to school after all this?
I wanted to be a vet, and I sort of always had wanted to, but getting out of school and going to Unitech, I had a bit of independence, and I sort of grew up. Maybe I didn't grow up, but I took it a bit more seriously, and I was more, I knew that I could do the work at school, and I could actually achieve it. And it was really random. I went to this barbecue, and it was a 40th actually. Like family friend, and I met this guy there, and he was telling me about if you have, you got to work hard at school, because if you have, you don't work hard, you'll get, a low job, you'll get low pay, and you'll have low friends.
Yeah.
And so he was like, what is this what you want to be doing? And I was kind of umming and ahhing about the whole auto electrical thing, and and I thought, nah, bugger it, I'm going to go back. And Mum was really all for it, so she went, go back. You don't need to worry. We'll give you some money.
Yeah.
You know, you don't need to worry about working. Just focus on school. And so when I went back in 7th form, I was doing a mix of 6 and 7 subjects. But I actually, the first few months, I knuckled down. I was working really, really hard. But I started getting detentions for really stupid things from previous teachers that I'd butted heads with throughout my high school life. So I kind of just thought, what's the point? I'm just getting picked on. It was probably more revenge than anything, but I just lost interest because I thought, well, no one's going to give me a chance. You know, what's the point?
Yeah.
So yeah, kind of. Then I just started being a little shitbag and not really paying attention at school. I ended up getting expelled. Well, I got suspended in the end of 3rd term.
Yeah.
Something happened. I can't remember what it was. I might have actually been innocent this one time. But Mr. Jenner tried to get me expelled. And my dad, such a good dude. He's real placid, as you know. Like, Richard Presling's just a real chill dude. You know, he's rational, you know, just cool. I've never seen him like this, and I've never seen him since. But he came into the meeting with the principal. And he said, okay, so Ben's... So he's got this problem with a science teacher or bio teacher.
Yeah.
He goes, but... if we look at his other subjects, so I was doing 6th form maths, English, and geography, I think. He goes, if we look at his other subjects, he's actually passing them, isn't he? And Paul Daly, the principal's like, yeah, he's doing really well. And Dad goes, okay, well, what point is it going to serve for him to be expelled? He's got one more term, and it was only like 4 weeks before he got on study leave. So he managed to get, it was a work of art, eh? Like, he just fully twisted everything around, and he managed to convince the school to keep me on, but I'd only have to go to school for my 6th form subjects because you had to attend them.
Oh, yeah.
So then I'd go to school for like 2 hours a day or 3 hours a day, and needless to say, I didn't pass. I didn't pass. But good times.
It was it was good times. It was fun.
Yeah, it was
good
good.
grammar.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so what happened after? So, because so Access Link, was that underneath the engine reconditioning
Yeah,
shop?
so Access Auto Electrical was down this driveway, and next door to that was Precision Engine Reconditions.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this dude, Dave, and so we kind of shared a lunchroom. Where there was only like 3 guys working there, but someone quit. This guy Scotty got fired. I think he was stoned on the job or something, and Dave fired him. And our mate Jason had moved out from, he grew up in Birkenhead. He moved out to Manurewa at the end of 5th form, and was working at a petrol station. And so he was really into cars like I was. Yeah. And so I spoke to Dave and said, I let my mate could be keen for an apprenticeship. Mm-hmm. And so then, Jason came over and met him, and he ended up working for him, I think, for like 8 or 9 years. Yeah. That's where he did all his training. And they then merged with another reconditioner and became quite a big company. But yeah, so yeah, that was kind of the life.
It was a pretty big one, because I know Jason Prescott, who we're talking to. He was sharper than I. Like, he's mathematically so sharp, and then to be able to be linked into the world of engine reconditioning, I feel like if we could get inside his brain, he sees the world as numbers, and like,
he is,
and so he's so talented and so strong.
He's one of the if not the smartest dude I know.
Yeah,
he is probably second to you. But no, he is. That's the thing. Like, he just gets it,
Yeah.
And he's, I mean, he just sort of thinks out of the box. He's got a different perspective.
Yeah. You can really understand it. So yeah, shout out. So school finishes.
Yep.
At one point, so the minis are cruising. We had some hilarious other cars. My old man had a Mitsubishi, the Siggy Sigma. Yeah. That was cruising. That was parked upside your house for a while. Somehow that was your
I think I sold it to Emma Sweeney, and she never paid me. Emma gave me some money. It was like $100 or something, and she crashed it or broke. I think she blew up the gearbox of the diff or something. Yeah, that was funny. But
then, so what happened after that? So it was, when did you end up with the GT?
Okay, so I had end of school.
Yeah,
Mum said, you got to get a job. They sent me to Outward Bound, which was actually really cool. That changed my life. So good. Brought me out of my shell. Not that I kind of needed it, but taught resilience.
Yeah.
And so,
how did you find the other kids? Because at this point, you've just grown up on the shore, so shore. At that time, we didn't realize how insular and different the shore culture is. And I would say for people that don't understand and maybe go, oh man, what is it like? Growing up on the North Shore and where we were, would have been like growing up in LA, like
Probably, yeah.
it's beachside.
Yep.
It's pretty damn affluent, but you've still got access to, more working class than these other ones. But the parties are off the hook. There's lots of craziness going on. Let's be blunt, you got away with stuff on the shore that you would never get away with out west, out south. You'd just be arrested 10 times over, but they just seem to turn a blind eye because they don't, to it. So that was pretty gold. So what were the kids like on Outward Bound though? Because it's all over the country, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So there was a really good mix of people. There were people from, like us from decent areas and cities. And then you had the people that, from farms and, just a really good group of people, and varied in age. I think the cutoff might have been like 25.
Okay.
So we had people of all ages. I was 18 at the time, and just a mixture. But we had a really close group, and I think it's probably the same for like most people do at Outward Bound, because you do 3 weeks and they push you out of your comfort zone. We went on a 3-day hike and we got lost. Someone fell off like this little mini cliff. It was probably a couple of meters and twisted their ankle, and then our instructor, we ran out of water, and so our instructor walked us for like a day to get to a stream, and we got there and the stream was dry, and she broke down in tears. And so like, great, our actual guide is like losing her shit. 5 days we got rescued out of the bush, but it was cool, it was a good time. But yeah, like I said, it really changed my life.
When the instructor broke down, how many of you were in the group?
So I think there might have been like 12 or 14 or something like that. But there was this other guy, Pete, and Pete was in his early 20s, like maybe he was one of the older ones. And me and him just got on really well, and we were just joking, we just joke around. And we did not see the seriousness in the situation.
Yes.
So we're cracking jokes. And we're like, oh, walk it off, just shit like that. And like, what's everyone's problem? Just being little shitheads. But yeah, she was pretty upset. You don't expect your guides to do that. And people, back then, probably even since, a lot of people had died at Outward Bound.
Yeah.
A lot of people had something had gone wrong and they'd actually died. So we just never saw that.
No, we just never saw it. You're just, the invincibility of a teenage boy is just, and I think we were even more invincible, or just the concept of it. And also just not the concept. I remember when we went away, I feel like you were there, but you were on the sixth form camp. Did we go to Tongariro?
Yeah, I went to the sixth form camp. Yeah, so I think I left school shortly thereafter.
But I remember just that.
The seventh form was Tongariro.
Was it seventh form Tongariro? Yeah. And that was cool. And the Tongariro crossing. And just how much we underestimated how fit we were. And we weren't huge sporting, but it's just like, we just walked the whole thing, laughing away. Other kids was like having a cry. Oh no, it was so tough, and they just weren't used to it.
It was a weird sort of, that one still.
I remember one teacher actually, and it sort of started to stick with me. And he pointed out he has maybe the geography teacher, and Mr. Edie, I think, was the history teacher. But anyway, he said, boys, you've just got to realize you're actually like, you're fit and strong. We were whinging like babies.
Oh, yeah. Making us do work.
Making us be eating toffee pops and being like big babies. So we don't want to walk. And you're like, you'll be absolutely fine. Some of these kids have never been on a walk in their life. Like they've never done anything. I remember there was a couple of, bless them, like Asian girls that probably were there on an exchange or something. And it was so tough on them. And same thing. We're just wandering around. We're just like, it was fun. We just walked along, did the whole thing. It was, no stress.
We just didn't see the seriousness in it, I think, or any of it. It was like whatever.
Yeah.
They just dragged us around, and we just we were told,
Yeah, it was, it was funny. Yeah. I thought I'd just shout it out. I thought it was just Mike and Jack, and they're on the gains, and they're like, how do you get the gains? I just thought I'd throw it back to when you had the Mobil vouchers. I remember me and you, and we'd go and park up at that Bayswater Marina, and we'd get like 30 cheeseburgers.
You got it, yeah.
That's where the gains are at, boys.
That's where the gains are. Yeah. Oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, so, and then when did When did you move on from the Mini, love?
Yeah, so I start when I came back from Outward Bound.
Yeah.
I was like, you need a job. You got to get a job.
Yeah.
Okay. So she was managing health screen at Sovereign Assurance. So she got me a job at Sovereign in the scanning department.
Yes.
So any mail that came in, it was one of the first paperless offices, right?
Yeah.
So any mail that came in, there was 20 of us that sat there and scanned every page and then assigned it into a file and then move on to the next one.
So this would be year 2000. So
2000, yeah.
So the Y2K bug didn't take out
Didn't take out the Archeum system, no.
No.
And so my brother worked there as well. He was in IT. He'd been there since he was 16, so he was a few years in. And also one of his good mates, Mil, worked there as well. So I knew like a few people.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I ended up, Mum got me a job doing that. I was terrible. Like I was late every day. You know, I was a shocking employee. I was really bad. And Mum would give me the hard word and I'd pull sickies and like, I was just shocking. But something happened and then I ended up pulling my head in. And then after a few months, I got promoted to, so you had the scanners and then you had the checkers. And the checkers would check everything was correct and that you could read everything and, you know, it was scanned properly. And that was, and so the scanners, the lady that ran it, this lady Kay Smith, she was like, I think she was a school teacher or she probably should have been, just ran it like classroom. So if you're a minute late, you make up the minute at the end of the day. And everything had to be time stamped when you scanned it, like in this machine that went ka-dunk and would stamp it. And so they would check when your last scan was and when your first one was. Once you became a checker, no one's watching nothing. So you could just do as little or as much as you wanted and no one cared, you know. And so, yeah, I did that for a while. I got rid of, so the after the Mini I had in 2000, I got like the Star, just back from Outward Bound. I sold the Mini and I bought Datsun 1200 Roadster Ute. Yeah. And it came with a 12A in it, rotary, and I ended up getting I bought a 13B Bridgeport and dropped that in it. And this thing was, I mean, you remember, it was pretty cool. Bloody loud. Yeah. So, yeah, I had the Rotor Ute for a while. I was driving that we were living in Prem at the time with my parents. So I was driving that every day. And then when I got promoted just to check out, I was like, I'm in the big time. Got like another $1,000 a year or something. And that's right. I went from 19,500 to like 20,500. And so I thought, well, I mean, what's a young guy supposed to do? I went and ticked up a $19,000 Skyline GT. It had all like, you know, GTR stuff all over it. It used to blow massive flames out the exhaust pipe when you boosted. Oh, this thing was just cool. It was only about 5 years old at the time, so it was pretty
So would it have been like specced out over in Japan?
Yeah.
Racing, and then they've just imported that in.
Yeah, so it's actually Tim the Mormon's mum bought it, and then his brother Jeremy, who ended up in Japan, he had it as his car. Yeah. And then I bought it off the family. So I had the Skyline for probably about 6 months till it was stolen. And then after that, that's when I got the RX2. And
did you have insurance for it?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, $5,000 or $4,500 excess. Yeah. So yeah, I lost $4,500 in 6 months on that one.
I assume you've been keeping up the maintenance on it, huh?
No, I couldn't afford it. That was the thing, man. Like,
because like $20,000 a year. Let's just, for people that aren't, that's less than $400 a week before tax.
You got it.
And you know, so after tax, you're probably what, $300 a week, $320 in your bank account.
Remember, it was bugger all.
Yeah.
And it was, so the biggest cost on that car was tyres. Yeah. Because it had 18-inch mags, and I know like they're small nowadays, but back then 18s were the biggest you could get, you know, and they were like, wow. People were rocking 15s and 16s. Yeah. Like 18s were like wagon wheels. And so I'd do like donuts in it at the drags and just like, And I would blow a tyre. So a good portion, I think, of that 6 months was spent driving around with a Space Saver, waiting to payday. But yeah, I just didn't maintain it, and it, you know, it just started falling apart. But yeah, after Sovereign, once I got the car, probably a few months later, got a job at Honda Cars North Shore. Yep. And that place was interesting, but it set me up. So we had this this foreman there who was absolutely useless at his job. What's up, Tony? And because I was basically just customer facing, you know, and he couldn't organise the job properly. And there was a couple of mechanics who were really onto it, and they pretty much took over the role because someone had to do it. If jobs weren't done, the customers would get angry at me. So I'd start checking up on stuff, and I actually got to learn quite a bit about productivity and efficiencies and how to run a workshop.
Right.
So which kind of leads me into the next part of my life when after Japan.
Yeah.
Where came back from Japan and unemployed and
so you come back into Japan. So you would have arrived back. So Honda was cool. I remember catching up with you then. This is probably when I would have started in our lives, because finished school. I went to uni for a year and a half. Then couldn't cut it at uni, funding, everything. And then I went traveling, and then I ended up in door-to-door sales.
Got it. And you got me my first sales job.
Right,
yeah. So before I was supposed to go to Japan in like September, or October, must have been September, and it got pushed out a month, and I'd already quit Honda.
Right.
So I needed a job. So then you're like, come sell
some stuff.
So I jumped on the bag and carrying the bag door to door, selling genuine upperwear.
Yeah.
And it was that was like so much fun.
Yeah.
It was so good. After like the first day of the initial shame, where life had led me, it was just a cool job. You just talk to people, and you know it's like you just hone your sales skills and meet all these weird people and try to flog all this.
They don't exist to the level that they do now. They don't exist to what they were back then, because let's talk it to, as Ben was working as a sovereign at a checker, you're making $400 a week before tax.
Yep.
And so you'd have these companies, door-to-door sales companies, and they would import, they were back as like toys, dictionaries, calculators. It's before $2 shops had turned up into the country or something. And they would give you a huge bag of merchandise. You'd load up the cart, and then you would literally go and sell, and you'd make maybe 25 or 30% of what it is. And so it was pretty normal. If you were half decent, you could make $100 to $150 a day.
Easy.
It was cash. Theoretically, you were meant to pay tax. No one ever did.
We all did.
Yeah, of course. It was like you were independent contractors, but we're also children fundamentally. But they also taught the sales. So every morning you'd start with how to sell, how to keep your attitude, how to do all these things. And fundamentally, I look back on it, is you were just going there, you provide people with entertainment. People would buy it because it was actually well priced and they'd like some of the stuff. But it's just be like, oh man, that was worthy of 10 minutes of the day. I'll buy that. I'll do that. So and relating to all sorts of people, because we're doing it. We say door to door, and it was but it was business to business. So we were walking around,
commercial areas,
So anything from you were working to law firms, factories, warehouses.
Yeah, I remember I used to make a beeline for the middle-aged woman. Yeah, because back then we had checks. Yes. There was no FBOS, Yeah. And they just looked for any excuse to whip out the checkbook.
Yeah.
And so I remember one place in Glenford I went to, I walked up the stairs, it was a little commercial place, and there were two guys in their like maybe 30s, and they went, "No, get out." I'm like, but
no,
and then you and then you have a bit of fun with it, like if someone's being a dick, you just, even though they're telling you to leave, you just start selling to them. Why not?
See my great stuff.
Or what was it? No hawkers. You go, I'm not a hooker. I'm selling. No, I don't sell. What are you doing, you sicko? And so I ended up getting kicked out of that place. And as I was walking down the stairs, in walks the office lady. And she must have been like 40s or 50s. She said, "Oh, what have you got?" So I started telling her about the genuine upperwear. And she's like, "Oh yeah, I'll buy that." So I went upstairs, and then she's writing me checks, and then the other two are like, she's like, "You should really buy this, really good." And I ended up selling to both those dudes as well. But it's just a fun job. You met some really cool people, and a few transient travelers, and
that's it. It would be backpackers, people just trying. Because back then, as well, we're talking early 2000s, unemployment, I think, was actually pretty high. It was pretty tough to get a job, and what was pretty low paid. And so you could do it. It was cool. It was also, I mean, there was no one-day deals back then. There was like, so people were genuine. There would be a chunk of people that hate you. You're like, oh, go away. You just, but they're just, I realize now, just quite negative, grumpy people. So and you avoid them anyway. Most people were just sort of on the fence. If they had a moment and you had a good attitude and you could entertain them, they're like, what do you got? What are you doing? And then some people that just hung out for it, they're like, oh,
Yeah.
What's in the bag? What have you got?
The addicts.
Yeah, so you bought the shopping addicts there a chance to have their addiction at work. Yeah.
Yeah, that was so cool. I actually really enjoyed that job. I remember you and Moe going, oh, sure you want to go to Japan?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
Bring it
Stick
on.
around, you be an owner. I'm like,
Yeah.
but yeah, my parents were a bit negative about that job. And then it was, I went into a place.
So your parents are pretty pleasant.
Yeah, sure.
Us, and
Definitely, they're like, come on.
they're having another barbecue around.
Yeah.
The friends are like, so what's been up to now?
Shipped to the door. But what actually happened is I went into this place in Albany and it was a hairdresser's and I started pitching them and I made a few sales and didn't think much of it. And Mum's like, oh, were you in Albany? I'm like, yeah. She goes, oh. And they're family friends, like they're really good mates. What she was there, I didn't recognize her, but she was getting her hair done.
Oh, yeah.
And so she heard the pitch and she told Mum, he's actually really good at this.
Yeah, yeah.
So after that, they're like, oh, okay, that's right.
Yeah.
But yeah, it didn't quite work out for me. But
Well, you went off to Japan. So you get back from Japan.
yeah, get back from Japan.
So what's that, 2002 you would have got
2000, yeah, I got back just before start 2003.
Yeah.
And I was supposed to be coming back for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So I came back with like 12 grand and a few car parts, like
Yeah.
performance ECUs and other stuff I'd already pre-sold
Yeah.
to mates back home. And I just lived it up for 3 months. 3 weeks. I just partied thinking I'm going back. And then they stalled the date.
Yeah.
And then eventually they said, we're closing the business down. One of the business partners stole $250,000 off the other one. And so, yeah, then they're like, well, you're out of a job.
Yeah.
So, oh, no. And I had this girlfriend that I met, just before I left. And then we got together when I came back. And I was with her for like 3 weeks. And pretty much around the same time, she cut me loose.
Yeah.
So I'm living at my parents' place and I'm unemployed. And I've gone from this cool job in Japan to like, what's going on, And I needed a job, and so I got Mum saw this ad for a car alarm installer,
Yeah.
and I had the auto electrical stuff. But to be fair, I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I went and worked for this dude. I won't mention his name, and I worked for him for probably about 4 months. I was mainly out South Auckland, and I had to install things like neon lights under cars.
Yeah.
All this tacky bolt-on crap, It just wasn't what I was into. And then one day I took too long on a job and he threatened to hit me, come over and bash my head in. And I was like, what the fuck? I'd come from corporate. I'm like, you're going to what? And so I had a principle. I just rage quit.
Yeah.
And said, come and get, I'm out. See you later. And then quit. And then I was basically unemployed again. And I ended up pretty much just bumming around for a few months, and then I got enough money together to buy a car. I got like this $500 Holden Commodore. It was like a Berliner, like a 1990 Berliner. It was the 4-cylinder, it overheated, it was junk. But then I used some of that money that I had from my birthday, I think it was.
Yeah.
Got the car, and went and got some business cards made.
Yeah.
And I went door to door. I
Yeah.
fell back on the hawking, and I went door to door
Yeah.
up into Albany. And I knocked on this shop, Parallel Imported, and they'd just set up at the time, and they were selling perfume and car audio and all that stuff. And I told them I install stereos and whatever. And they gave me a few jobs, and they'd had problems before with the other guys, like just stuffing things up, and clients weren't very happy. And I got something, I can't remember what it was. I did something like 50 installs and not a single one came back.
Yeah.
Just doing stereo installs. And then they asked me to set up in their car park on a Saturday. And this was the time when iPods had just come out.
Yeah.
Everyone wanted iPods in their cars. Most of the cars back then were Jap imports, needed band expanders. CD players all of a sudden were like $300, not $1,000.
Yeah. So I remember, like I'm just trying to set the scene. So 90s, we're growing up with our cars. We're buying a car for $1,000, $1,500. I remember my Camaro, and like why aren't Reg? And then you're dropping $500 on a Pioneer CD head unit.
You got
then
it.
another $200 for a pair of 6x9s or something.
Yep.
Like huge level of money.
Yeah.
And then they started parallel importing. But everything that was imported, so Japanese imports are still coming out, and they're still coming in with those terrible little AM radios. So yeah.
Yep. Yeah, so I set up in the car park on a Saturday and a Sunday, and this was 2003, maybe end of 2003, and it was all cash, and I was doing $2,000-3,000 a day in installs, and so then I got Ben to come along and give me a hand because he was studying at the time, and so then I had them, and then I enlisted my cousin to come and help me. And it kind of grew from there, and their popularity grew because they were just undercutting the hell out of everyone. It was just a perfect storm.
Yeah.
And so they moved premises to Link Drive, not Link Drive, what is it? Constellation Drive.
Yeah.
And then we had like 2 or 3 guys on the weekend just installing stereos.
Yeah.
And then they set up another store out in East Tamaki.
Yeah.
And they said, we want you, it's got a warehouse on the side of it. We want you to set it up as a workshop and run it. And then we did this like profit share thing that just didn't work. And so then I took on some extra staff and I was kind of just fell into it, because I was 22. I don't really know what the hell I was doing.
Yeah.
It's like, what, I was doing a good enough job. But didn't really quite know. But because I was doing so much volume, I got to learn the easiest way to do cars. So I just got really, really quick at it. And just charging, so I think I started charging $60 a head unit. It would take me probably 45 minutes. And, fast forward a year, it was $80 a head unit. It would take me 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So yeah, just printing money. It was so good. And I was stupid. I just drank it and pissed it against the wall and bought cars and all sorts of stuff. But yeah, did that for a while. Had like quite a few staff. Tried to set up Wellington. That didn't really go too well because you can't be in 2 places at once. But yeah, and then did that for a few years, and then the GFC came.
Yeah, that's it. And so, because it's interesting, it's like, because we had it's different but parallel. So I'm going and running, I end up running these sort of like door-to-door sales monster down in Wellington. You're up here, we're cranking it along. But you look back and you realize you just don't know what you're doing. No. Getting taken, like, I know I did it, taken advantage of like others in terms of like, where is actually all this money going? Who is it? I'm just running, just excited and doing it. But also, and this is one, and we'll probably get to it with it, and I just had no idea how money worked.
Neither.
Like, just zero. And it's like, bless my parents, but they had never bothered to explain.
Same.
I remember I wanted to go overseas. So I'll give an example of just my sheer stupidity and naivety. I wanted to go overseas, and I heard that you needed to get a visa to go overseas. So when I was like 16 to 18, I went and got a visa from the bank, thinking that was going to get me overseas.
Yeah.
And then I ended up signing up to some like Amway, like
that's right.
Like, I got that, and
A2K.
Yeah, and then they put me on this like book of the month or CD of the week or something ridiculous that you could not cancel. And then it just blew out. I didn't have the money because, I still thought it all making the money. Yeah. But I wasn't paying my credit card because I didn't think that was important or what effect that would have, which was that then they chased me. It was like a $500 limit. I didn't pay it. It goes to $700. You could have rung them up. Could have said, hey, how about I pay this off $20 a week or something? They'd have been like, of course. I'm like, the best thing to do, completely ignore it.
Yeah.
How about I just ignore it?
Yeah.
And because so much of our life had just sort of gone well, you think, I'll just get away with it.
It'll be fine.
It'll be fine. What would they care? Well, it turns out that they'll blacklist you and not let you have a business bank account or a bank account. And so I ran an entire business with other people's bank accounts. Which
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, and that's it, because I couldn't control.
Yeah.
And so Maui got a lot of money, and so, but yeah, we're both on this sort of similar but alternate. We've got the sales skills, you got this charisma, you're doing it, but also not making any effort to put anything aside for anything.
Yeah.
So
I had mum. Basically, I wanted to tick up a Commodore, an XS Commodore Ute. So my mate had one. I thought it was super cool. I was like, well, I could afford it. And mum and dad said they went in. I don't know where they did in the end. Now that I'm thinking about it, but apparently they went and spoke to Schofield and Holden and the salesman there, which this is where it doesn't add up. The salesman said, don't let your son do it.
Yeah.
It's a waste of money. He's going to come out because at the end of it, there's like balloon payments or sort of stuff. And I think it was like 50 grand or 45 grand or something at the time. Yeah. And they went, my parents came back and said, we're not going to, because I figured that I need a guarantor. Yeah. They said, we're not going to guarantor it for you. That's stupid. Get something a bit more reasonable. And I wanted a Range Rover after that. And so then it was like from 50 to 30. Thankfully, I didn't get it. Not then. But I ended up buying, so I had mum. The deal was that mum would go, yeah, okay. Yeah. I don't even really know why I needed them looking back, but maybe that I did need them anyway. But the deal was that mum would then have access to all the financials and she could look at what was going on in the business.
Wow.
And I'd sort of just taken on staff, and like there was payroll, which Dad and Mum were helping me out with, and so I thought, oh yeah, that's fine. And it actually worked out really well because my credit card, it was probably a year later, and you know, it'd been very quickly, it grew to quite a decent sized business, and I was making, you know, bearing in mind 3 years earlier, I was $20,000 a year. Now suddenly I'm making like 250.
Yeah.
You know, and just an idiot.
Yeah.
And so I ended up pretty much I'm glad I did. But Mum, sorry, where I was going with that is Mum, about a year, and I was like, I should really pay my credit card that I'd had since I was 18, right? Yeah. And Mum and Dad just cracked up and they go, we paid that off like 2 years ago. And I went, oh, that's awesome. Yeah. And I go, well, how do I need to transfer the money? And I was like, no, I used your money. I paid it. It's like, oh, great. So they actually saved me from myself a lot from the money side of things, you know, even though they didn't really teach me so much about money management, but they did.
They did try it, yeah.
Yeah.
They were a bit of an ambulance at the
They
bottom for you.
They were. But I didn't end up getting the Range Rover, but I did buy a WRX STI Coupe.
Yeah.
The black one. And that thing was bloody quick. That was cool. But and then I bought like a wagon, and I had the van, and I was stupid though. I was my mates were flatting, and I went and got my own place, and so I was kind of living the dream a bit in my 20s. You know, I was this dude living on my own place, and just head of the toys, but just no clue. Yeah,
it was an interesting different. There was no one, and I'm not making excuses. We're idiots.
Yeah,
you know, like
absolutely
caveat idiots. So potentially it was all out there. But there wasn't that big desire to get a house, or like I see a lot of younger people now, and there's a lot of people like, hey, start the hustle earlier. You know, like do this. You can invest in this. You can do all these things. Be smart with it. Maybe try being sober once a week. You know, like, but housing hadn't really gone boom in the way that we thought in New Zealand. So at that point, you could still just rent a place. It was pretty cheap. There were no standards. So as long as I think it had like a light bulb and maybe a stove, good to go.
Yeah.
But property investment hadn't really gone and wasn't on the radar back then.
My parents they had quite a few investment properties in the early 2000s.
No, I'm talking for, it wasn't as discussed.
For us,
for it. But yeah, so you just cruise through it. So GFC. You know?
GFC, yeah. So the
GFC, so 2008. So you've gone 2003 to sort of 2007. So 3 or 4 pretty good years.
Yeah, really good years. And it was for a long time I was not in the business because I was partying a lot, and I'd just go along and empty the safe. Yeah. And I had a mate who was managing it for me, and I'd work the weekends because that's where I made most of my money. But I didn't train anyone else up to install the alarms because there were 2 parts, so stereos and alarms. If you could do both, you could have your own business.
Yes.
So I had all these guys doing stereos, but with the alarms, I was the alarm guy.
Yeah.
And we were doing, towards the end, like we were, I think, one of, if not the biggest Mongoose customer. Yeah. Outside of like a Repco, you know. And yeah, so we were just doing massive volumes. I was doing like 2 or 3 alarms a day, which is pretty big, you know. Yeah. So yeah, it just got better and better and better.
And was that an upsell service? Like, how was you doing? Because I remember.
No, another perfect storm.
Yeah.
The insurance companies bought out that you had to have an insurance-approved car alarm to get a discount on your premium.
Ah, yeah.
So everyone started getting insurance-approved car alarms. So when they'd go into Parallel Imported and they'd tick up their $10,000 car stereos, they would come next door and I'd sell them an alarm. So yeah, that was sort of how it was. But I got to the point where I straightened myself out a bit and I wasn't partying as much, and I started going to work, and I realized I had this gold mine. And that was probably like year 2, you know, year 2 or coming up year 3. And I basically, I doubled my income. So I was on maybe taking like 100 and something then, which is pretty good. Doubled it. And I started investing back in the business. So I got, you know, did stuff like I painted the floor on the workshop, which people just didn't do back then. You know, I made it like a nice retail space. Got some nice couches people sit in, got some arcade games, stuff like that. Got a projector on the wall, you know, and playing Fast and Furious, stuff like that. And so I built this business up, and the last year, which is leading up to the GFC, I had my best year ever. We turned over, I think it was like over $1 million, you know, that year, which was crazy because it was all just labor. Yeah. You know, I think my biggest cost was the cost of alarms, which was probably like 150 or something. Yeah. So yeah, ended up Basically, that last year was great. We had this mad lead up to Christmas, New Year's, because all the guys wanted to get the cars done to go cruising at the Mount or whatever.
Yeah.
Came into the new year, and it would quieten down. Then it would sort of bounce back, mid-January, and then do a bit of stereo work, and then it would get really busy as soon as it started raining because people didn't want to unlock their cars. So they wanted remotes, they wanted alarms, and it just never came. Oh. That was usually like March, and it just never came. Parallel Imported sold their store, franchised it out where the workshop was, and the new guys that they brought in saw how much money I was making.
Yeah.
And they're like, this was my naivety. I never had an agreement with Parallel Import.
Yeah.
I just did a good job and looked after them, and they looked after me, and it just worked really well. When these guys came in, they were like, right. They basically said, we're going to put your rent up. And I think I was really slack at paying the rent, but Parallel never even cared anyway at that point, because they sold more stereos by having us there.
Yeah.
So it was all good. But then they wanted me they wanted to buy my business. And I was like, I'm not selling this. This is a gold mine, And then my naivety, they basically said, right, well, see you later. We're doing it ourselves. And they hired this guy who's actually got his own auto electrical business now. And he was a terrible worker. He could do alarms as well.
Yeah.
And the guy just wouldn't come in on Friday. He'd go home on Fridays because he was Muslim, and he was apparently going to prayer,
Yeah.
And the first week he was there, my brother was working for me at the time because he was between jobs, and he rang up and he goes, "Oh, he's going home." I'm like, "What?" And he goes, "Yeah, well, he's off to Temple."
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, and I thought stupidly, I'm like, well, I can't really do anything. It's religious. I can't, So I just had to live with it. Turns out the dude was just going getting stoned with his mates every Friday. So I ended up, he got a DIC, and then he hit me up for a pay rise. So I'm like, okay, well, I can't send you on any mobile work now, which was kind of like 30% of the business.
Yeah.
And you want more money. Like, I've got half an installer now.
Yeah.
And so these guys, these two geniuses that bought Parallel Imported, found him and got him to run their workshop. Mm. And when as we're moving out everything, that came out who it was. And I said to him, I hear you've employed them. And they're like, oh, yeah. And I go, who's going to drive the cars in and out of the workshop? Yeah. They're like, oh, he is. I go, well, don't you guys want insurance? Are you going to get insurance? And both of them looking at each other going, what? I go, well, he's got no license, eh? And they just went, oh, and the penny dropped. Yeah. And I moved on from that, went mobile. I had to lay off quite a few guys. That sucked. But it was around the GFC and everything just fell off. So it's kind of good timing for that to happen.
Yeah.
But I think they lasted like 6 months, and then they closed that down, and then their business ended up turning to shit. So.
Yeah, well, I suppose the golden run sort of started ending as well with the Japanese cars. The GFC, you had everyone tick up everything. And then cars, I remember sort of from that 2008, cars started turning up with a decent stereo on it,
Factory mobilizers.
Yeah, and
Bluetooth built in.
Yeah, and it was like, the glory days. So, I mean, I was at Repco buying a battery for Jazzy's car, which is the first time I've walked into one for a fair while. And I was like, where's the seat? I was like, I'm going to go and look at the stereo rack, and it used to be, God, it used to be epic. You would walk into these things and it would be multiple aisles and just like the Alpine, the Pioneer, and all these other ones. And you just like all the subs, all the amps and everything. It was just so epic. Must be so much. I do wonder why. I mean, they must wreck the cars and it just all disappears into, I don't know, landfill or something.
I don't know. It's the weirdest thing, like, because I don't think it's not really a thing anymore.
No, I mean, we are throwbacks, but like, Jonah Loman. What was that green one the Fusion thing. Yeah, and it was the Jonah Lomu. What was it? It was a Ford Explorer or something. Yeah, it was just.
No, it was a Nissan Pathfinder, like a four-wheel drive thing. That's right.
Yeah, it was just crazy, and it was just everything about it was just like.
It was, and to be fair, Fusion was absolute trash back then. Like, the product was terrible. Yeah, so bad compared to what else you could get, for the same price. Yeah, but just good marketing. They just did really well. But so GFC came, and it was around the time that you were working for the good guys.
Yeah, well, that's the same thing. Like, we won't go as it's sort of the business started winding up with us. The economy actually got hot. And so people were like, why would I go and work and do door-to-door sales when I could just go and, turn a, like this 2007, a lollipop sign or work in a call center. Wages have gone up from like $4 or $5 an hour to sort of 10, 12, 15 bucks an hour. And so people are like, I don't really want to do it. $2 shops have turned up. I look now and, if I pivoted the business, which actually only happened a couple of years later, but I worked for them, is we were still just selling, not junk, but, just cheap stuff door to door. And that is if I'd gone and I was being too loyal to just this, like this overarching company, Cobra, and I think, the Cobra sales group and gone and been like, why don't I go and approach an electricity company? Why don't I go and approach a telecommunications company? Because they were also within the group and they were making bank. Like they were doing great, going signing people up for big things. Way easier. You didn't have to load up a car full of merchandise. You didn't have to, give it all out, get it all back, account for it all. And if you could just, say, hey, how much are you paying for power? Why don't I, you're with Genesis, go to Mercury, like type of thing. But I didn't. I also had multiple kids by then.
True.
But yeah, so that is the same sort of time. It was an interesting how our story arcs had been
similar, right?
But, in that similar. Yeah, so I just took the job. The good guys, hardly the good guys. Like, ban those things. Mobile truck shops. But man, I was, $60K in debt, like I'd had multiple offices. We had Dunedin, Wellington, Perth of all places, Hamilton. Leases that I couldn't pay, all of these things. So sort of, got away with it. But yeah, just pretty much took the first job that I could. But yeah, so where did you end up? So how much longer did you sort of persist with doing it, like the mobile installs? And obviously it would have been pretty disappointing as well. So you're going from this high of it, nailing it, and then it's just... So,
Yeah, it was a bit of a fall from grace, and you're kind of starting again.
Yeah.
But what happened? So after the workshop finished, went mobile, and it was just me at this point, and I was kind of a bit over everything, and I pretty much wasn't working. I was bumming around, and and so you got me the role replacing all the alarms in the trucks. That was gold because
there's about 30 trucks on the road. This is like good guys, absolute hustle. So what they did is they would go around and they would fundamentally prey on the poor community. Initially I thought, this is all right. They're just doing it and they're providing on tap. But what they would do is they'd have these trucks by and large full of clothes and other stuff. And they would just sell it on these credit cycles, no interest or anything, but it was just overpriced. And some people did. I really didn't like it. I was the sales manager, so I wasn't really on the cold front of it all. I was like, I don't know, 27, had to motivate them all. But I also, and to be honest, I just sucked it up. I had like 2 kids at home.
You just had to do what you do.
You gotta pay the bills, and there's no work. It's 2008, so. Man, I lasted there, I don't know, maybe 9 months or maybe like 13 months or something. I think the thing that crushed me actually was the one Christmas there. I was like, okay, I can sort of just, the clothes were bad enough. They do these sort of tick up TVs and all of this. But when you really work it out, it was about the same price as if they just went to a DTR or something. So it's not horrendous, but it's not the best anyway. So, but was these stupid Christmas clubs. And by this point, I'd already worked out how money worked a lot better at this point in my life. And I was like, you could just go and save the money with Pack and Save or New World. You put in $20 a week. Yeah. And at the end of the year, they'd give you like $1,000 and they'd knock like 5% off the bill. Yeah. Or you could give $20 a week to the good guys, and they would give you like $600 worth of groceries, and you probably didn't want half of it. Yeah, and,
you didn't have a choice.
And I had a falling out because I was meant to go around and help deliver all of these things, like, Merry Christmas. And people were like, most people are happy with it, but you're sort of like, you're not doing the right. But you were meant to sign them up for the next year. And I wasn't. I was convincing them not to. I was just like, I just couldn't do it. I was just like, you shouldn't do this. Like, sure, if you want to put aside $20 a week and get some clothes for the kids, okay, but like, honestly, just don't, And I'd fall out, and I had to explain to the boss, like, where is all these things going? And so I knew I was on the way out, but I was still pretty good. And then, that's when Pulse Energy came. But, which worked out really well. But you did the mobile. So we got the alarms and the trucks.
Yeah. So I did, cause they had these old Remac alarms from like the 90s. And they were all, you couldn't get remotes for them. They'd long since closed up shop. And so I went around, you got me the job of going around replacing all of the alarms on every truck. So I think I did like 2 weeks of just driving around the North Island, sleeping in the car and just smashing out alarms. And I'd already pre-made everything, like pre-loomed everything. So I could do an install in about 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And typically before that, it could have been a few hours.
Yeah.
So I was just smashing around, and then, I managed to, I can't remember how much money I made. It was bloody good. And then that set me up for like 6 months of just being a bum. And my girlfriend at the time, her parents had a place in Mangawai. So we just go up to Mangawai and stay up there for a week, come back for a few days, she was at uni, but she never went and still passed. And so we just, we're just cruising. And it was probably, I ran out of money like maybe about 6 months later, and I needed a job. And my brother had bought into a vodka company. So I started with them. I think I sold I didn't sell a lot. I wasn't very good at it. And
why not? Because you pretty much could sell anything.
It was
not sell, pretty well.
It was a premium product. It was really good. But what the issue they had is that, every other liquor company, and 42 and Below just sold out and made mega bucks.
Yeah.
So every other liquor company would give everything on consignment. Well, these guys couldn't afford to pay the excise duty to have it leave the premises to have it on consignment.
Yeah.
So you had to convince people to invest money. And I remember going into one liquor store in Point Chev, and I showed them the bottle, and the bottles are really cool. They're like these old medicine bottles. Like they're real flash. And the dude just goes, I've already got some, I've got, and he showed me there were like 10 vodkas on the shelf that were like me, and he goes, why do I want to buy another case of it? I can't even sell these ones.
Yeah.
So I did that for a while, and then I really, and it was commission only, so I pretty much was like, I need a real job. And then I went and worked for Speedy Signs for about, I think it was about 6 months. But that was when the good guys, so I was doing jobs on the side for the good guys, but that's when they did the big rollout, and so I quit Speedy Signs and went and did the rollout and then cruise. But and then I was kind of just a little bit adrift. I got another sales job selling photocopiers and phone systems for these crazy Australians, just doing business to business, and they were absolute criminals. Like they were just up to no good. They were signing people up on finance and not telling them, and I was like, this isn't legal, And when I figured out, I found out that they were actually doctoring the documents once they got back. So we'd tell the clients, look, this is your service agreement. So UDC, people are like, what's UDC? I'm like, they're just backing us, it's fine. But what they would do is they'd sell, so if you were spending $500 a month on your landlines for work, spend it with us and we'll give you a photocopy.
Oh, yeah.
That sort of thing. But what they were doing was 50-month contracts, 60-month contracts.
Yeah.
They would get UDC to prepay the $500 a month for 5 years. So they'd get a lump sum, and then they just pretty much they stopped paying the call credits. They ended up the owner ended up boosting it off to Australia, owed Telecom like $1 million. Just a nightmare. But I left after I found out what dodgy stuff they're up to. And that's how I got into financial services.
Yeah.
Yeah. So family friend who was an advisor said, Dad's, I think he was out with him, and he's like, we need to get Ben a job. He's just stinking up the place. Living back home with the parents, rock bottom again. And then, he got me, set me up with a company, and it trained to be an insurance advisor.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, it's interesting what some companies will do. I don't know whether there's less of the dodginess out there, but there was some crazy stuff. Telecom, we weren't doing it, but one of the other sales companies, I know that they were going around and they were either signing people up or somehow they were sending people mobile phones.
Yep.
And then when you opened the box, there was a letter saying, if you've opened the box, you now own it. Right. And people were like, well, I didn't want the phone.
Oh, so they didn't even ask for it?
Yeah, they didn't even ask for it. It was like, I can't quite remember. But yeah, it was this late 2000, early 2010s. There's just still this level of like dodginess that I hope it's not out there as much anymore. I just don't associate or don't see it. It's
Yeah, I mean, insurance was really cool, but it was so I was selling life and income protection and mortgage cover and that sort of stuff, but I was commission only, and a lot of it was evening work.
Yeah,
you know, and when you start out in the industry, it's actually really quite hard to get a foothold and get some regular income. So it was feast or famine. You know, I'd go a month with no money, and then suddenly I'd have 10 grand in my bank account. That would get me through like the next month or two. And I found that I was spending, so I did that for probably maybe 18 months.
Yeah.
And I found that all my work was in the evenings and not in the days. And in that time, ex-girlfriend had moved back from working overseas, and so we've given it another go. She didn't have a job. I was pretty much like earning bugger all.
Yeah.
So we were just struggling financially, you know, like we'd nothing. We'd no money. Always behind on the rent, you know, stuff like that. And so one of my good friends, Tam, started working for 2 Degrees in business sales.
Yeah.
And so he's like, look, man, why don't you come and work for me in the day?
Yeah.
And you can do your insurance in the evenings. Yeah. At least you'll get a regular paycheck. So
nice.
Sign me up. So yeah, went and worked there for, that was about 18 months. And then we ended up in solar together.
Yeah.
Modern Energy for a while. And then, Sky TV after that. National sales manager for them and corporate, and as you know, hate being corporate.
Yeah.
And then got made redundant, which was awesome because I hated that job and I was looking for other jobs. And it was...
What was that? You were running like a call center there, weren't you?
I was in charge of... So I sat under the marketing department, but I was like in charge of acquisition. So upstairs was a call center, the inbound sales team.
Yeah.
So I oversaw the manager of that. Like, it was such a bullshit role. Like, they did not need me.
Yeah.
And the guy that hired me was the sales manager for like 5 years, and he got promoted to head of customer or some other bullshit title. And so I took over from him, and he was so bad at his job. He could not make a decision to save himself. And he was basically managing 4 like highly qualified, experienced marketing people.
Yeah.
You know, so half of the job was the marketing side of things, and the other half of it where I'd have to like come up with the campaigns, 3 months free Sky, 2 months free Sky, 3 months free Sky, like just, you couldn't do anything, you know. Yeah. And I had basically this guy just did my head in because I wasn't really used to corporate being so useless, it'd been a long time. And I just couldn't get anything done. So you just have no job enjoyment. You go along to work, and it was just dealing with my idiot boss who, he said to me, he goes, I hit him up. He goes, what's happening with us? And I go, well, I'm waiting on you to make a decision on what we do. And he turns around to me and goes, you need to manage your manager. This is the level of incompetence, eh? And he picked, this is so funny. I'm not on an NDA, so I can talk about it. There was this one woman there who was a couple of years older than me. She was still, would have been about, I don't know, mid-30s, late 30s. She'd been there for 17 years, and she did her job really well. She was really good. He didn't like it because he was like a mean girl. He just didn't like it.
Yeah.
So he tried to give her a warning. And she went, no, you don't. So she took him to the Employment Relations Authority.
Yeah.
And it dragged on for like 6 months. We all had to work together, and it was this awkward, and they were pretending to be polite to each other, but secretly hating each other. Yeah. She wins the case, on a Friday, and it's all done and dusted, and she gets a little bit of a payout or whatever. Yeah. Monday morning, gives her a warning. The guy was just a moron. And so what happened after that, there were the other people, none of us could get him to sign off on any of our stuff.
Yeah.
You could have 12 weeks to come up with a marketing campaign, and he just wouldn't sign off on it until the last day, and then it was all mad rush. And one of them, so we all went to HR and complained about him, so we can't do our jobs. Then he got in heaps of trouble, and because I'd come from insurance and everything's documented in diary notes, and I kept really good notes of what he had done, because he'd tried to set me up to fail and basically bullying in the workplace sort of stuff. Yeah. Went on for months. We all got interviewed. HR isn't your friend, as it turns out. And he got, I don't think he ever got a warning, but then he resigned.
Oh, yeah.
And I'd been there, and I was actively looking for jobs.
Yeah.
Screw this place. He resigned, And then it was he finished up just before Christmas, and I thought, oh my God, I can finally do my job.
Yeah.
So come back in the new year, all ready to go. And then the marketing director, who I was now reporting to,
Yeah.
was like, oh yeah, we're thinking of disestablishing your role. It's like, oh, so yeah, made redundant.
Yeah.
And then that's when I went and studied and got back into what I enjoy, which is insurance and mortgages.
Yeah. And what would it be? Yeah, it is interesting. It's just interesting when you go from the world, and I've been in both, and I think that's why I do so much better here. Sort of self-employed, you got to hustle, you got to make decisions, you got to do it, and then you go and work for a corporate type thing, and then nothing happens. I think I had that. I made probably a better go of it, but Pulse Energy was it's like I got taken on, and it was like they had like a couple of hundred customers, and then like, hey, we're gonna need an acquisition channel. I was like, well, have you heard of door-to-door sales? And they're like, I don't think that'd work. And I was like, we could surprise you, and we became the fastest growing company in the country. Like won the Deloitte Fast 50. There's so many customers. Because people, if you knock on the door with a smile and say, hey, if you're paying this, why not pay this? It's just a different color bill. Yeah. But I also had to just suffer through a few years in terms of just meetings about meetings.
Yeah.
And just sit at the desk.
Yep.
Just sit there.
Man,
It's like, as a sales manager, it's like I might have 40 guys out there or something, your teams, but I'd go and run a meeting, go and make sure everything's good, call them all up, do it, and then you're like, but you're not allowed to go home. You can't do it. You've got to just sit there. And so, yeah, I probably suffered too in silence and that, but then when I could do it is, it's not for everybody. Some people love that world, but some people, I just want to just give me work. I'll work, but then also if there's no work, sweat.
Yeah, and I couldn't really do anything. Like this job was stupid. Like I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when
national sales manager at Sky TV. Wow,
yeah, this is gonna be awesome. You're gonna be hanging out with All Blacks. It's gonna be movie premieres.
It was so stupid, and it got to the point where I just didn't want to go to work.
Yeah,
and I just would sit there, and I had a seat up in the call center area, and I basically had my back to the wall. Yeah. And I bought a house around that time.
Yeah.
And so I was just on YouTube learning how to do renovations.
Yeah.
That was my job at Sky TV. But I went into this.
Probably a bunch of people will be listening.
Oh yeah.
It's a really corporate position. So,
Well, funnily enough.
No, I'm just saying this.
Oh right, yeah, did the same thing. Yeah. But what I it was just stupid. I went to this one meeting. I'll never forget it. And it was a presentation about 4K. 4K had just come in, 4K TVs, like resolution. Sky was talking about how they're going to adopt 4K. And I don't know why I was there, but there was about 20 other people and sort of, management. And I had a quick estimate, and I think that 1 hour cost 12 grand.
Yeah.
In wages to have us all there, that none of us needed to be there.
Yeah.
And what they do quite often is that because I was head of acquisition, they would bring me into these projects.
Yeah.
And so you'd have a steering committee that would keep track on progress and value.
Yeah.
But then you'd have my boss who would come in and just talk about his weekend, and then suddenly we're out of time and let's catch up next week. And eventually they'd just run up the clock and nothing would get achieved. That they'd go, oh, this isn't working, so they'd shit can the project. Yeah. And then just move on to the next one. Yeah. And so you just, you spend your life as, you just don't achieve anything.
That's it. Yeah. There is a level of bureaucracy. People think often bureaucracy is like, oh, that's just going to be at a council, or that's just going to be at like a government thing. But there's a level of just sort of monopoly businesses in New Zealand is like the bureaucracy just gets there, and you just manage for managing's sake, I think.
Yeah. And for like 2 years, there was this merger with Vodafone that was happening. And so Sky didn't do anything to upgrade their product because they were going to get this, what they have now, the same thing they've got now with the online, everything's done online with it. But Vodafone, I think Spain had the rights to this particular product. And so when they merged, they were going to get the rights. Well, the Commerce Commission said you can't merge. So suddenly everyone's running around going, oh my God. And I'm freaking out because I know I'm getting made redundant if the merger comes in, because the equivalent at Vodafone in my role was like degree qualified, 20 years experience, And they basically lost like 2 years of R&D and set themselves back, and everyone was giving them congratulatory pats on the back. But shortly after I got made redundant, Mike, who was the marketing director, he got made redundant as well.
Yeah. And I must say, I don't really know it. I mean, I know only of your time. And I think a lot of people wrote it off. So current Sky, you're probably doing pretty well because they've actually turned it around in terms of what they've done with what I see with sports on there. It seems to actually be going, because it was sort of, I don't know, it'd be interesting to know the story because it was starting to really go like this and everyone was writing them off. It was just like, it's not going to work. People aren't going to do it. They had the Golden Goose, which has still got, which is rugby. Yeah. But they seem to have been able to pull it back and do it. And
yeah, when you're right. I mean, that was the thing. It was always talk if they ever lost the rights to rugby, Sky was done. Yeah, that's basically the way it is. But what they did so John Follett was their CEO. He'd been there for like 26 years. Yeah. He retired, and they brought in a new CEO from, I think he might have been like Irish or something, who'd run Sky TV in Dubai or something like that. Never knew the dude. But he came in and they had Sky had something stupid like 16 directors on the board. Like it was so top heavy. And they were all John Follett's mates. Yeah. And they'd all been there for 20 years. And it was just this old boys club. And my boss wouldn't run any good ideas up the flagpole because he thought it made him look bad because he didn't come up with it. Yeah. And so you had no progression, no evolution. And what this new CEO did is he came in and then quickly realized what was going on. He criticized previous management. So John Follett had this cushy board role in his retirement. 3 months later, he was resigning, and then they cleared out all of these directors, which I think is what's led to their profitability.
Yeah, and they sort of turned it around because it was looking like it was going to. So good on them because it's not every monopoly-ish sort of they're not a monopoly because they don't own it, but they were just such a market dominant player, and I suppose they still are, but they've managed to defend it and turn it, and it's cool. And so getting closer to the modern day, I mean, you look after our insurance, then now, what did you have to change in the mindset to make it go, hey, I liked it worked, but what did I, to go and make a success of it? Because it's been 5-6 years now.
Yeah, it has been. 2018, I think I did my level 5 certificates to be able to do it.
And that must have been a challenge because back in the day, you could just sign up to pretty much be an insurance.
Pay your money, register, away you go.
Yeah, and then they've like, hey, look, we're going to, for whatever reason, I don't think it was necessarily deserved. They're like, we're going to clean up this industry.
You got it.
And people misinterpret how much money an insurance agent make. So they go, oh, that's a big commission. But you're like, yeah, but they've got to pay for everything. You got it. And you're also on the hook if anything gets cancelled. It's like 2 years.
You got it. Yeah, if you cancel in the first 2 years, I'm giving back that commission.
Yeah. And so
I'm working for free at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, because I'd come from these corporate jobs, and I'd always been like growing up, when we're teenagers, I was buying and selling car parts. I was hustling, so I sort of made my side money. Yeah. I had to get out of this mindset of being managed. I had to then do it for myself, and I did 6 months or 7 months to qualify, and I then became what was known as an authorized financial advisor. So these were the guys that had qualifications behind them. You had to be authorized by the government, so you had to do like an exam with them to show competence. Yeah. You had to basically like credit checks. You had to be of good character, all that sort of thing. But if you were doing investment advice or financial planning, you had to be an AFA. Yeah. And AFAs were, I think, like 10% of advisors were AFAs. Yeah. So I naively thought, I'm a commodity now. I'm an AFA. Yeah. I wasn't. No one cared. No one cared at all. So the phone didn't ring. So then
so you think, I'll do the studying, I'll get this qualification. You got it. Suddenly the whole world's going to be front page in the news. Pretty much, yeah.
I'm going to be creaming it with the cash. People want to see me because I'm an expert. And so I worked with family friend on a couple of projects. We're doing like cash flow coaching and that sort of thing. But I was still when I was studying, I went and worked for Jason Prescott a couple of days a week, falling back on all the electrical, mechanical stuff. My friend Sean has got a carpet cleaning business, so I was working for him like the odd day here and there, just contracting, and it got to the point where I was so reliant on, and I wasn't earning very good money at all, like they were helping me out, let's be fair. But it got to the point where I ended up just in this debt rut.
Yeah.
You know, where you're not getting ahead, but you're slowly slipping backwards.
Yeah.
And so, I did that for a while. And then the COVID-19 came along, shutdowns. So all that work dried up. And then I ended up working for Sean because he could still go in and clean carpets under it because they were essential worker. So I worked with him. And then I ended up going full time. And it was fun, you know, it was pretty cruisy. He's a good boss. He's just laid back. And I was more there to hold his hand. And, you know, like we'd do 4 or 5 hour days and he'd pay me for the day. And it was, you know, but I got to the point where I was like, what am I doing? I've got this qualification I'm not using.
Yeah.
You know, I'm qualified enough to just go get another corporate job and get double what I'm getting now, if not triple. What am I doing? And so, I went and applied for a job and then got a job training at financial advisors and got sick of that, and then got into the mortgage world, working for myself. But definitely it was this, you know, you kind of carry all this. I don't know if you feel this way. I don't really feel like it now, but at the time I carried this weight of the failure of the previous ventures, you know, and how I felt I hadn't kind of lived up to what I wanted to be doing. And so I was used to being an employee and under the thumb of these dominant managers. So you kind of lose your confidence. And so, it was just, I don't know, COVID just switched. And one of my best friends died basically a month before the first lockdown, drowned over in Bali. And that sort of put everything in perspective, you know. I was on this rat race and getting nowhere. And then obviously the government came in. I had my own business at that point. You know, I'd had it for a few years. And so what came with COVID?
Yeah.
Government money.
Yeah.
You know, so suddenly I had money behind me. And then I could get my website done and I could, you know, and then I got a job and that was the turning point, I think.
So the lessons, so let's go, so it's sort of 6 years ago. So anyway, early 2000s, Ben, government money would have been like, all right, what are we getting at WRX?
Man. Like money was, you know, every Sunday I would get dropped off because we were still working, had the workshop East Africa and we're still working out of Constellation Drive. So I'd send a guy up there and on Saturday, Sunday, he'd drop the cash off and we're talking like 3 or 4 grand, you know, just each weekend, just boom. And so I just had cash.
And so that would have been back then. So now this time, okay, out of the blue, the lockdown, and we're talking about just the wage subsidy hits. And so they go, hey, we're going to subsidize, we're going to pay for all of these things. But instead you go, hey, Dan, this is actually an opportunity to invest. Yeah. And so you took that money and go, okay.
Built the business out.
Yeah, that's smart.
It was, I just needed to do something. You know, I was in this rut and I wasn't happy. And so the good thing, I know it was really tough for lockdown. I'm not downplaying that. But for us, with everything that had happened, so my wife, she was in a hospital at the time, and so they got all their hours cut, but for us it was actually good because we had money in the bank all of a sudden. We were forced to stay at home, and so for us it was kind of a holiday. And it's weird talking about that now because so many people had a really, really bad time in COVID, but for us, you know, we needed that break to kind of just re-energize and get some focus back. And but it was working working for this other company, and they got into financial trouble and stopped paying us, and that was kind of the end of it. And then I went for another advisor actually for a while, and his business quietened down quite a bit to the point where he had 2 of us working full time, and then he could only afford 1. And so we had to reapply for our jobs, and I said, look, man, I'm out. I don't want to do this. And that's when I got into the mortgage stuff. So I started with AHQ. It's actually my old boss put me in touch with David, who I work with now, to look at borrowing money to buy a book of clients. And quickly realized I had no income, so I couldn't borrow anything. And then I said, hey, can I have a job? You know, can I come work with you? And
so how will that work? So, and then he's getting a level of clients coming through the door, and you'll be able to look after the clients. So what do you predominantly looking after? Is it mortgages these days? I know you help out some of our shed clients with shed house mortgages. You can done it as, but let's just mortgages. To give it a rundown. Some people won't know, and I think anybody that's got to this point, bless you.
You did the hard yards.
You did the hard yards. But anyway, as you got to know it, and so there's probably a bunch of good quality Kiwis like, oh, okay, Ben's not going to judge me. You know, like, so
none of that, man. And I think of myself, even though we grew up well, yeah, quite privileged.
Yeah.
I think of myself as a tradie, as a
Yeah.
as a business owner, and I am. But with so with Advice HQ,
Yeah.
I contracted them. But what I had, so in the first lockdown, I actually went and studied. I went and did another paper, so residential property lending,
Yeah.
because I wanted to move to the mortgage world. So
Yeah.
insurance is something that is, it's a grudge purchase for most people.
Yes.
No one wants to spend money on it. And I didn't like the dynamic of constantly, having to hound people, and you sort of feel like you're pesting them, which is just sales. But
Yeah.
but I really wanted to get into the mortgage space because it is more, it's happier. You're helping someone realize their dream, buying their house, or it's just a much better. It's more. It's not repetitive.
Yeah.
It's and this is where I think I'm kind of good with it is, I've got the skill set of I've been a problem solver.
Yeah.
And so all it is problem solving and knowing how to work with each lender and their requirements. But mortgage work is 95% of my business now. I do the insurance work. I'm the only one at Advice HQ that's got my insurance qualifications. So, I do a bit of still do a bit of insurance work, but it is day to day is mortgage lending.
And we were discussing before, but KiwiSaver as well.
Yeah, so I've got my KiwiSaver, all accreditations. I've got agencies. I don't actively look for KiwiSaver clients, mainly because you need to be doing a lot of volume in order to make it worthwhile. If you think about the average, the average commission on insurance could be 3, 4, 5 grand.
Yeah.
Mortgage 3, 4.
Yeah.
Plus, the average KiwiSaver commission is $50 to $250.
Yeah.
And we've got really good systems in place now where we can actually go through the whole process in about 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But it's the sort of thing I do for my clients. If I've helped them out with a mortgage, let's review your KiwiSaver.
Yeah.
But we're not actively looking. I know a lot of advisors now because one of the big red banks has just cut trail.
Yeah.
So they're trying to look for a replacement. And I was at a function last night, and a lot of them people I was talking to were now focusing on KiwiSaver because you need that trail income to keep the lights on, to pay your support staff, to pay everything else. I haven't done a lot of business with that particular red bank, so I don't have a lot of trail with them. But there's a lot of guys out there that have businesses have halved now because they're not gonna. They're just shutting it off,
Yeah, it seems very out of it. It's such a, we're in the weeds of now how it is, but it's obviously you got the major banks. They'll pay a tiny commission to the brokers, and the brokers will generally just work out whoever the best deal is. Like
it's wherever it fits.
Wherever it fits, what it's going to be. Is it the deal? Is it the But for whatever reason, sometimes they're loving it and sometimes they're not. In terms of it, it's like mortgage brokers are writing 50%, 50% of mortgages, 60% of mortgages now going through brokers. But they just, I don't know, they're corporates, so they just don't love. Sometimes they love it, sometimes they don't. It's but in terms of it, it's just the advice I would say. If somebody's listening and they wanted to either think, how do I get into what should they be doing to set themselves up if they want to get themselves a mortgage? They might, what are the key things that somebody might have, like they want to get into their own first home, or they want to do? Like, what are the red flags the banks are going to dislike that you want to get sorted 6 months before you're ready whilst you're saving? Yeah,
so not so much now, but you probably remember back and, go back 4 or 5 years ago that there was this whole thing where the triple CFA came in, and the regulations meant that you had to be a responsible lender, and part of that was making sure people could afford things. And this is where you heard the headlines of, I buy a coffee every day and the bank declines me. That stuff's all gone now. But there's really two things that I see with the first-time buyers. So the two barriers, really. Yeah. So you've either got deposit, so you don't have enough deposit, and you can get you can have 5% deposit, get a car or a loan, which is fantastic. BNZ do 5% deposit on new builds.
Oh, cool.
So there are options. Most people, you need at least 10% deposit. So a lot of people, they don't have that much in the way of savings, as you can imagine. Cost of living crisis, everything's expensive. So that's the thing I see all the time, is that they either don't have the deposit or they don't have the servicing. So what I mean by that is they don't have the income to pay all their bills, the new debt, and still have money left over to survive. And that's what the bank assesses. They look at you and they go, all right, Jason, you're earning this much. These are your fixed expenses.
Yep.
So we're talking like your mortgage payments, your rates, your insurances, that sort of stuff, food, that sort of thing. And then they look at uncommitted monthly income, which is the test. So how much money do you have left over? Basically. And so what I see a lot of people fall into, they have an issue with either one of those two. And realistically, if you've got no deposit or limited deposit, there are options, but that's where it's either bank a mum and dad if you're lucky enough to, or sell off some assets. You might have a couple of cars that you could probably move, or a motorbike, something like that. But the income side of it is a little bit trickier because, how do we all earn more money,
And so I suppose what I would think is, and we'll pretty much wrap it up, but if you're going to be in either of those ones, KiwiSaver's Gold, you can always move it to a conservative. It forces a saving. As if it never reaches your account, it's much less likely to spend it.
Absolutely.
Go from 3% to 4% or go to 10%, and then you can use that for your first home. That would probably be it. And then think, what am I going to be able to do? Can I take on a boarder? Like, can I have, board a flatmate? Can I do something like that? Where can I afford to purchase? Can I take, can I move, like, down here in the Waikato, it is way more affordable.
Oh, absolutely.
Like,
much better value.
Yeah. And I mean, that's why the Mighty Tron has become so popular. But, like, there's plenty of houses or in a satellite town, 600-700K, which stacks up a lot more than 1.6 or 700.
Exactly.
Okay. So, but look at those, because you can always either get back into the market, but there's no real better finance, like being able to make sure that you've got those savings, hit up those KiwiSavers, get into it. And just assess where, we were discussing this well, you're a financial advisor. I'll say it because I'm not. No financial advice. This is just my opinion.
It's not advice. No.
But the winners seem to be the winners for a while. Generate, Milford.
You got it.
The top ones seem to keep performing.
Yep.
And the bottom ones, they came to see. If you're with a dog of a fund, just move and cut it. It doesn't keep going. My old man used to say that. I think he is with one of the major banks.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is, 10, 12 years ago at least. And I was like, you should go to the Milford, man. I'm making bank. It's 15, 20% returns or something. He's like, yeah, but man, it sucked last year. So surely it's going to come right this year. And for a couple of years, he was like negative 2%. Yep. And then he was just like, man, I'm just going to go to it. And now he just loves it.
And past performance is an indication of future performance.
Yeah.
But if you've got a fund that in the last 15 years since inception has underperformed massively, then what are you waiting for?
Yeah, and that's it. Like, look at it like a sports team. Past performance doesn't necessarily indicate future performance.
Sure.
But the same people are in charge.
Yep.
And if they've managed to lead that team to, consecutive losses or consecutive victories, it probably means something.
Yeah, it is. And that's the thing. If you're thinking about KiwiSaver, get in touch with me or your advisor and just get a review. It'll be free for you. You'll get independent advice. They'll recommend a fund that's right for you. You're not gonna, and we could be talking hundreds of thousands of dollars of difference by retirement by being in a bad fund. Don't worry about fees. The ones that charge high fees give you high returns generally.
Yeah.
The ones that charge, the banks that charge you small fees.
Yeah.
Small returns.
That's it. Look at the returns after fees, after everything. Do not get caught out on the fee ones. No. I think that is a false argument.
Yep.
Is look at what they're returning.
Absolutely.
Don't look at the fees. Awesome, man. It was great. It was great to have
Trip down memory lane.
Yeah, awesome. It was some awesome things. Oh, well, we'll flash up the details if you want to get in touch with Ben. It's awesome. Otherwise, cheers, my man.
Thanks, man. Awesome. Thank you.